Good morning, Sheriff Nicholson. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Hey, I'm glad you're coming on with us this morning. And for anybody out there listening, we've had a little difficulty on our streaming. Anybody listening out there or watching, we cut these segments up and put them on the internet. And so whatever, if you missed this morning, you'll be able to hear it in a couple hours. Sheriff Nicholson, we asked you to come on this morning and talk to us and our viewers and our listeners recently with the developments. And you put out a public service announcement yesterday that we put on our website. And recently with the developments of what took place, a very sad situation with the Runyons and the answering that Craigslist ad, we thought it would be good to talk a little bit about and have someone come on and talk to our viewers and listeners about the internet scams that may be out there that you can share that some people don't realize when they're on the internet or on some of these classified websites. So could you share with us first and foremost some of the #1 things that people should look for when they're going to Craigslist or they're approached by people buying and selling on the internet?
Well, Brian, the Craigslist, as well as just meeting someone face to face out on the street, the number one thing that folks should be very cautious of and look for is the old saying, you've probably heard it a million times. If it looks too good to be true, if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably not true. If it's that good of a deal, it's probably not real. There are, you know, we've not seen a dramatic amount of Craigslist type internet purchasing scams or frauds in our area. Now, obviously the Runyons has brought this to the forefront of the nation. Really, it's certainly in Georgia, but even here in Georgia, in Gilmer County, we've had a recent instance, as you may well be aware of you know, a scam, a theft, a robbery, and what happens is these you agree to meet these folks, and they'll send you a payment which looks to be real, and by the time the payment clears your bank, and then 2, 3, 4 days later, you get notified that the payment was no good. It was a bad check. It was a fraudulent check. The folks are long gone with the merchandise that you sold them, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's the always ever danger of what happened to the Runyons. It was just a scam to begin with, and it was a robbery, and they met in a secluded area that there was nobody around, and they were murdered.
If somebody is aware or sees an internet fraud, I mean, obviously they would call your office, but what are some of the red flags on internet that says, and you said it's too good to be true, but what are some of the red flags that come up? Now, you mentioned earlier that people will purchase something from you and send you a check that's not even valid. Are there any other red flags out there that people can watch for when purchasing? And I want to say it's not so much for our listeners, and when you're on what I don't want to say legitimate sites. I have purchased on Craigslist before. I have sold. But these things tend to happen more on what I call your online classified online internet websites is where this tends to happen more, like a Craigslist. So, I mean, are there any other besides those kind of scams, and what to identify and look for when they're on the internet, and what they should report to your office?
Well, Brian, and I'm going to tell you, Brian, I'm not too familiar with the other type of online purchasing that you're talking about, the online classified. we've not had a lot of dealings with that. But what we do see along the same lines, what we do see in this area a lot, we have a lot of complaints filed. We have actually had several folks lose thousands of dollars on these email scams. We call them the Nigerian scams because that's kind of where they originated, or when they popped up around here. You would get an email from some Nigerian bank of something saying that you were entitled to thousands and thousands of dollars. The only thing you had to do is send them all of your information, your name, date of birth, social, and payment for a processing fee of $2,000 or $3,000. And once you did that, then they would tell you that there was another type of processing fee for $2,000 or $3,000, and before long, as soon as they had bled you as far as they could bleed you, then you'd never hear from them again. And these crimes, these internet scams, they're very frustrating to us. There's not a lot that we can do about that. They're even frustrating to the federal government, Secret Service. I recently attended a conference and had a block of instruction from the Secret Service on these type of things, and they're frustrating to them, although they have a little bit more resources and the ability to deal with it. One thing to look for always, and I'm talking specifically about email type scams, don't ever, you should never, no one should ever, whether it's a scam or not, no one should ever open an email from someone they don't know who it is. You should also, for example, if you bank with Bank of America and you have online banking, it's not unusual to get an email from Bank of America. These scammers will take and they will set a domain name that is very similar, but it might be Bank O American, and you log on to that and they are inside your system, and they're getting information they shouldn't have. You should never give your personal information, your ID data, to anyone that you don't know who they are. Simple as that.
Well, let me ask you a question. Isn't it harder for people also in that situation to prosecute? Isn't it harder to get internet crime prosecuted because a lot of it happens across state lines and there's the point of origin of where it took place? Talk a little bit about, if there's a fraud, how important it is to be aware of it before you get involved because of how hard it is to prosecute later.
It's absolutely harder to get prosecuted. I mean, I'm just, being quite honest, your local law enforcement, I would say, for all practical purposes, your state law enforcement, such as GBI, we don't have the resources and we're not equipped to handle these, because most of them are not interstate. Most of them are international. Most of these things, and we're even getting international types identity theft cases where it certainly appears that the calls are originating from international locations, where they call you and tell you there was the IRS or the Social Security Administration or this or that, and they're wanting your information. One thing for folks to remember, and this is very, very important, and Ryan, I don't know what your demographics are on your viewership, but the elderly are very vulnerable and susceptible to being victims of these crimes. They are very vulnerable to identity theft because they're very trusting. They grew up in a trusting era. Your younger viewers should talk to their older parents and grandparents. You should never give your name, date of birth, social security number to anyone over the phone, and no legitimate company. And I'm going to repeat that. No legitimate organization is going to contact you by telephone and start asking you all this personal information. If it's someone you know that's your bank calling, it's probably okay. If you don't know who they are, you should never give them the information.
Well, let me ask you before we go. I appreciate it, because what I really wanted to do is get a segment that we could put out today and get out on the internet ourselves as more of a public service, because it's just so concerning what took place, and it's a perfect time to talk about it. You put out yesterday, and so has other Donnie Craig down in Pickens, and we appreciate that, and we know the support that local law enforcement is giving in the safety of this. But you put out yesterday on a meeting place at the detention center. Tell somebody how that works. If they're meeting somebody, what concerns they have. What transactions do you recommend? Large cash. What red flags if somebody wants to meet you at night? So talk about you telling citizens yesterday to get in touch with the sheriff's office and meet at the detention center, and what flags really go off when you're meeting somebody.
Brian, I couldn't understand you. Did you say red flag?
Yeah, what red flags really go off when for the citizens when they're negotiating a meeting to do a transaction? What should be the red flags that they should watch for, and how do they meet out at the detention center?
Well, one thing, and there are a lot of smooth, and then I'm doing air quotes, smooth talkers who are criminals, but they're also, but a lot of criminals are not. A lot of criminals are not smooth talkers. They're very nervous, and I would be cautious of anyone insisting or even highly recommending to meet at either there or the purchaser or the seller's residence. I just would not ever do that, and that would throw up a red flag to me that would probably kill the deal. If they're readily willing to meet in a public place during daylight hours, in a public place, or for example, the law enforcement, local law enforcement station, if it's at night, maybe that's okay. I would be very cautious about anyone that's wanting to meet at odd hours of the day or night, and in secluded locations. And you talked about the public service announcement that we put out, the notice we put out that folks could use the jail. I wish I could take credit for that idea. I can't. That was actually a suggestion brought up to us by one of our Facebook followers. We had talked about the idea very briefly, but we had the suggestion, and it just kind of really hit us pretty strong that this is what we need to do. And lo and behold, we construct this announcement to put out, and by the time it's out, it looks like everybody, or not everybody, but there's certainly a lot of sheriff's offices in the state and the surrounding areas that's doing the same thing. So it's a really good idea. All they need to do, to meet at the jail, it probably would be a good idea just for their personal safety, to step in and notify some of the staff at the jail. The jail's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just notify someone that they are doing that. We will be instructing our staff on this issue. So they should be met with they should be welcomed, and they should let them know they can do their deal. They still need to be cautious, Brian, as you well are aware of. They still should be cautious about accepting the check. They still may be become a victim before this is over, and but maybe they'll just be a theft victim and not a violent victim. That's the most concerning thing.
Well, if they want to do a transaction and they're not comfortable with, and they want to pick a location, they can go out to the detention center. And if anybody's listening, as we post this later today, that is on our website, Facebook page, everywhere to get out to you. They can go out to the detention center, use that physical address for the meeting point. When they get out there, you recommend that they go in and let them know that they're there and they're meeting somebody, so that way at least somebody's aware out there of what's going on. And then also, just the transaction, because I think what's happening, I think the warning of Sheriff, the warning of taking checks or taking funds that are not cleared is become a pretty big scam. So I think a lot of people, what's happening here is a lot of people saying they'll only deal in cash now. And I think that's even getting, although you want cash, that's even getting a little scarier, showing up with large sums of cash. So would you recommend, even briefing the person inside the detention center on what you're out there doing? Like, hey, I've got, and I'll just put it out there, I've got $10,000. The guy's supposed to be dropping me off a car in here. I just like for you to keep an eye out on me. Is that something you recommend when they go out there?
Absolutely, yes.
Well, Sheriff, anything else today that we could share with our listeners and viewers? And we'll be putting this up online later today. Anything else we could share as far as internet scams or things that you wanted to get out or tell people to watch for in Gilmer County and other areas when doing these transactions that we didn't cover this morning? No, Brian, not anything that we've not touched on. Just, again, I would say to your viewership, folks, nobody that I know of, nobody that I've ever heard of has received an email and honestly, truly won thousands and thousands of dollars. They've never gotten anything in the mail and won thousands and thousands of dollars. Those things are not real. Those are scams. Don't let your family, don't let your grandparents become victims of this, or yourselves. That's the main thing. Everybody wants to win some money, but or win a big jackpot, but you're not going to do it with an email. Brian. So that's the main thing. That's the most frustrating thing to us. We see a lot of this, and we see a lot of elderly folks actually send thousands of dollars to these people, and it's frustrating to us. I'm on the internet now, Sheriff, deleting all those emails where I won $1 million. You ruined my day here. I'm deleting those emails now. I thought I won $100,000 till you just broke it to me. But you know what? We appreciate that, and I do want to tell everybody out there, because we're going to cut this segment before we end. We're going to put it on the internet so it can be shared, and you can listen to our discussion this morning with Gilmer County Sheriff Stacy Nicholson on internet safety tips and how to meet somebody that you've done a transaction. I want to say for Gilmer County and all the surrounding area, if you're listening, Facebook pages, and the majority of the sheriff's offices now have Facebook pages, and they put good information, and they put public service announcements on there all the time. So go to your local sheriff's Facebook page, and if you're here in Gilmer County, go to Gilmer County Sheriff Facebook page, and there's always the public announcements there. Sheriff, thank you very much. You can put this on your Facebook page. We'll have it clipped and up about 9:30 this morning, so it can be shared all around, and hopefully some people will be able to take advantage and have picked up a couple safety tips this morning.
Well, hopefully so. And Brian, thank you for the opportunity.
Anything we can share with the citizens. Thank you, Sheriff. Have a nice day, and again, we appreciate it.
You too.